Listen to me. We've all been there. Sitting in front of a task we know we should be doing, but instead, we scroll, we delay, we convince ourselves that we'll start later. But later never comes. Why? Why is it so hard to just begin? You're not lazy. You're not broken. There's something deeper going on inside the mind. Procrastination is not about time management. It's about emotions. It's about fear, self-doubt, and the stories we tell ourselves. Think about it. When you avoid a task, it's not because you can't do it. It's because your brain links that task with discomfort. Maybe fear of failure, maybe the pressure to be perfect, maybe the thought that you're not ready yet. So your brain protects you by distracting you. That little voice whispers, "Do it tomorrow. Just one more video, just one more scroll." But here's the truth. Procrastination is a lie. It feels like a shield, but it's really a prison. Every time we put things off, we trade today's opportunities for tomorrow's regrets. The hardest part is not the work itself, it's starting. That first step feels like climbing a mountain, but once you move, momentum carries you forward. Think about the times you finally started something you were avoiding. The moment you began, the weight lifted. The fear faded. You felt in control. That's the science of getting started. It rewires your brain. It breaks the illusion that waiting will make things easier. The more you wait, the heavier it gets. The moment you act, you take your power back. So as you listen right now, ask yourself, how many dreams have you delayed? How many times have you let procrastination steal your progress, your growth, your future? The story of your life is written in the actions you take today, not tomorrow. And today is the day we break the cycle. Have you ever noticed the idea of starting is always harder than the act of doing? Think about it. You tell yourself, "I'll go to the gym tomorrow," and it feels like climbing a mountain. But when you finally walk in and start lifting weights, it doesn't feel as impossible anymore. Why is that? It's because our brain exaggerates the beginning. The mind turns small actions into huge obstacles. It whispers, "This will be painful, this will take too long, you're not ready yet." And we believe it. That's why the first step feels heavy. It's not the task itself, it's the weight of hesitation. Science shows that our brain prefers comfort over challenge. The moment you think about starting something important, fear, doubt, and resistance show up. It's your mind trying to keep you safe. But in reality, it's holding you back from growth. That's why the couch feels more attractive than the book. The scroll feels easier than the project. Comfort feels safer than change. But here's the secret. Once you take the first step, the wall of resistance begins to crumble. Starting rewires your focus. The fear doesn't vanish completely, but it shrinks. The task that looked impossible suddenly becomes doable. The hardest part is never the work itself. It's the 5 seconds before you begin. So the next time you feel stuck, remind yourself, it's supposed to feel hard at the start. That doesn't mean you can't do it. It means you're about to cross a barrier most people never dare to face. And once you push through that beginning, momentum takes over. The start may feel heavy, but every step after that gets lighter. Let me ask you something. How many times have you promised yourself, "This time I'll change. This time I'll do it differently," only to fall back into the same old habits? That's not just procrastination, that's self-sabotage. And it's one of the most silent killers of dreams. Self-sabotage happens when you want success, but deep inside, you're afraid of it. You want to move forward, but a part of you whispers, "What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if people see the real me?" And so instead of moving ahead, you unconsciously trip yourself. You delay. You distract. You run back to comfort. It's like building a wall with your own hands, then wondering why you're stuck behind it. You convince yourself that waiting is safer, that perfection will come later, that you'll begin when the right time arrives. But the truth is, there is no perfect time. Waiting is just fear in disguise. So how do you break this cycle? You break it by catching the lies your mind tells you. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need to feel ready. You need one thing: action. Action is the antidote to fear. Every small step you take weakens the voice of sabotage. Every time you move forward, you're telling your brain, "I'm in control now." Think about it. Your life could change not by massive leaps, but by refusing to sabotage yourself one more day. By refusing to wait. By refusing to believe the story that you can't. You've held yourself back long enough. Today, you break the cycle. Today, you choose to act, not out of fear, but out of belief. Because the only thing standing between you and your future is the part of you that keeps holding you back, and it's time to silence it. Listen carefully. You don't need to move mountains in a single day. You don't need to run a marathon to call yourself disciplined. Real change begins with something far smaller, small wins. They may look tiny, almost invisible, but they carry the power to transform your entire life. Think about it. When you set a massive goal, lose 20 kilos, write a whole book, build a business, your brain feels overwhelmed. It sees the distance and says, that's impossible. But when you start with something small, one push-up, one page, one phone call, suddenly it feels possible. That's the magic of small wins. They trick your brain into momentum. Every small victory tells your mind, I can do this. It builds confidence. It creates proof that you are capable. And once you stack these wins, day after day, they turn into unstoppable momentum. One glass of water becomes a healthier body. One sentence becomes a chapter. One chapter becomes a book. Don't underestimate these little steps. They may feel too small to matter, but that's the beauty. They're too small to fail. And once you start, you create a chain reaction. You no longer fight the battle of starting from zero every day. You build a habit, a rhythm, a flow. Remember this. Success is not built on giant leaps. It's built on the invisible victories that nobody sees. And those victories are waiting for you today, in the smallest choices you make. So ask yourself, what's one small win you can claim today? Because once you collect enough of them, your life won't just change, it will transform beyond recognition. Momentum. It's the hidden force that separates those who only dream from those who actually achieve. Think about a train. It takes enormous energy to get it moving, but once it's in motion, it's almost unstoppable. Your life works the same way. The hardest moment is always the start. But here's the truth. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates results. You don't wait for motivation to begin. Motivation doesn't come before action, it comes after. That's why one small move can ignite something far bigger. Remember the times when you finally forced yourself to start? You didn't want to open the book, you didn't want to step outside for that run, but once you did, something shifted. The resistance began to fade, and your body, your mind, your focus, all followed the flow of action. That's momentum. Momentum doesn't care about perfection. It doesn't wait for the right mood or the right plan. It grows from consistency, from showing up even when you don't feel like it, from refusing to stop when it still feels uncomfortable. And here's the powerful part. Momentum compounds. One small action leads to another, and soon you're not just moving, you're unstoppable. A single day of effort can turn into weeks of progress. Weeks turn into habits. Habits turn into transformation. So the next time you feel stuck, don't ask, how do I finish? Ask instead, what's the first step I can take right now? Because action, no matter how small, is the spark. And once the spark is lit, momentum takes over. And momentum is the difference between staying where you are and becoming who you were meant to be. Success is not about willpower alone. Willpower fades. Motivation rises and falls. If you rely only on how you feel, you'll quit the moment things get tough. That's why the most successful people don't depend on motivation. They depend on systems. A system is your safety net. It's the structure that keeps you moving even when your energy is low, even when doubt creeps in. Think about it. If you want to get fit, you don't just hope you'll feel like exercising every day. You set a time, you prepare your clothes the night before, you follow a plan. That's a system. Systems turn effort into routine. They remove the question of should I do it today and replace it with this is just what I do. When you have systems, you don't need to fight yourself every morning. The decision is already made. And with every repetition, the habit grows stronger until it becomes second nature. The truth is, big goals are intimidating, but systems break them into steps you can actually follow. You don't write a whole book, you commit to writing one page every day. You don't run a marathon, you run a few miles consistently. Systems transform overwhelming dreams into daily actions. And here's the magic. Once you build a system, the results take care of themselves. You don't chase success. You create the structure that makes success inevitable. So ask yourself, what system can I build today? Because once the system is in place, discipline is no longer a battle. It's a habit. And productivity stops being something you force. It becomes simply who you are. Fear, it's the invisible wall that stands between you and everything you want. Resistance, it's the weight that keeps you stuck when you know you should be moving. Together, they are the twin enemies of progress. And here's the painful truth. Most people never defeat them. They let fear whisper, "What if you fail?" and they stop. They let resistance say, "Do it tomorrow," and they wait. And that's how dreams die quietly before they're ever lived. But listen closely. Fear is not a signal to stop. Fear is proof that what you're about to do matters. Resistance shows up only when you're pushing towards something meaningful. The stronger the resistance, the more important the action. That means fear is not your enemy, it's your compass. It points you directly to the path you need to take. The way to overcome fear isn't by waiting until it disappears. It won't. The way to beat resistance isn't by hoping it gets easier. It doesn't. The only way forward is through. You act while afraid. You move while uncomfortable. You push even when every part of you screams to stop. And here's the miracle. Once you take that step, the fear shrinks. Resistance weakens. What felt impossible suddenly feels manageable. You realize the monster in your head was smaller than you imagined. So the next time fear rises, don't run. Don't wait. Recognize it as the sign that you're on the right track. Because behind fear lies growth. Behind resistance lies freedom. And if you want the life you dream of, you must be willing to step through both. In a world full of noise, the greatest power you can develop is focus. Think about it. Every notification, every scroll, every distraction is fighting for your attention. And the truth is, your attention is your life. Wherever your focus goes, your life follows. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they scatter their focus. They try to do everything at once, and in the process, they master nothing. But when you give your full attention to one thing, you unlock a level of power most people never reach. Focus is not about doing more. It's about doing less, with more depth. It's about protecting your attention like it's your most valuable asset. Because it is. Every time you allow yourself to be distracted, you're handing over pieces of your future to something that doesn't matter. But here's the secret. Focus is a skill. You can train it. By eliminating the noise, by setting boundaries, by choosing what deserves your time, instead of letting the world choose for you. The more you practice, the sharper your attention becomes until you can cut through distractions like a blade. And when you master focus, you gain something rare, clarity. Clarity to know what matters. Strength to stay with it. Power to see it through. So ask yourself right now, where is my focus? Am I giving my life to distractions, or am I directing it toward the things that will truly change me? Because in the end, your future will be built, not on how many things you started, but on how deeply you focused on the ones that mattered. Look around you right now. Your environment is shaping you more than your willpower ever could. The truth is, success doesn't only depend on how strong you are inside, it depends on what surrounds you. Your environment can either push you forward or quietly pull you back into old habits. Think about it. If your phone is filled with endless distractions, you'll lose hours without noticing. If junk food sits in your kitchen, you'll eat it when stress hits. If the people around you doubt you, sooner or later their voices become your own. That's not weakness. It's human nature. We adapt to the world we're in. But here's the good news. You can design your environment to work for you, not against you. Place reminders of your goals where you'll see them every day. Remove the temptations that slow you down. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, who believe in your vision. Create spaces that make it easier to do the right thing and harder to fall back into the wrong ones. Your environment is like the wind. If it's against you, every step feels like a battle. But if it's behind you, it carries you forward with less effort. That's the secret successful people know. Don't just rely on self-control, build a world around you that makes progress natural. So take a look at your surroundings. Ask yourself, does this environment reflect the person I want to become? If not, it's time to change it. Because when your environment supports your goals, success stops being a struggle. It becomes the path of least resistance. Imagine if starting didn't feel heavy anymore. Imagine if taking action was as natural as brushing your teeth or tying your shoes. That's what happens when you turn getting started into a habit. You no longer wait for motivation, you no longer argue with yourself, you simply begin. Because that's who you are now. Habits are powerful because they take the decision-making out of your hands. You don't wake up every day debating, should I do this? The answer is already built into your identity. The action is automatic. And here's the key. It doesn't begin with giant steps. It begins with consistency. Showing up again and again until your brain rewires itself. At first, it feels forced. You push yourself to open the book, to make that call, to step into the workout. But slowly, the repetition removes the resistance. The start no longer feels like a battle. It feels like routine. And that routine, over time, becomes the foundation of everything you achieve. The greatest transformations in history didn't come from one big action. They came from habits. Small, repeated beginnings that compounded into greatness. That's why your goal isn't to win once, it's to make winning automatic. Your goal isn't to push yourself forever, it's to build a system where starting is effortless. So ask yourself, what would my life look like if getting started was no longer the hardest part? Because once you make it a habit, there is no more waiting, no more hesitation. There is only progress. And when starting becomes second nature, finishing becomes inevitable. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this summary, make sure to check out our other powerful book summary videos. We've got plenty more that will inspire and guide you. Don't forget to hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more life-changing ideas. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let us know what you learned today.